All right, general math, finishing up chapter 5 today with some least common multiples and greatest common factors. So starting with greatest common factors, GCF, it's the largest factor that a pair of numbers have in common. So if we have two numbers, what's the biggest number that goes into both of those numbers? The greatest common factor does not need to be a prime number, so don't get it confused with anything in 5.1. But if numbers have several prime factors in common, the greatest common factor will include all of them. So numbers that are relatively prime will have the greatest common factor of 1. And remember that relatively prime numbers don't have any factors in common. We took that from 5.1b. So let's find the greatest common factor of 42 and 51. Well, 42 breaks down into 6 times 7, and 6 breaks down into 2 times 3. So we have 2 times 3 times 7. We're just doing the prime factorization of 42. And then 51, we're doing the prime factorization. That's 3 times 17. And if you need a refresher, again, check the 5.1b notes on how to make a factor tree. So what do these have in common? They both have 3s. That's the biggest number that they have in common. So the greatest common factor is 3 because it's the only common factor, right? If we had two of the same factors, we would just take the bigger one. Right here, we want to find the GCF of 72 and 60. Well, 72 breaks down into 2 times 2 times 2 times 3 times 3. We would get that from a factor tree. And 60 breaks down into 2 times 2 times 3 times 5. Well, what do they have in common? 72 has 2 2s and a 3. 60 has 2 2s and a 3. So let's multiply all this together. What's 2 times 2 times 3? That's 12. So basically this just means that 12 is the biggest number that goes into both 60 and also 72. And then on the other hand, we have the least common multiple. So we have two numbers again, and what's the smallest number that these multiply to? So let's find the least common multiple of 18 and 30. 18 splits up into 2 times 3 times 3, and 30 splits up into 2 times 3 times 5. Well, the least common multiple must include a 2, 2 3s, and a 5, because we have a 2, 2 3s, and then over here we already have a 2, we've already done a 3, but we haven't done a 5 yet. So 2 times 3 times 3 times 5 is 90. Another way to see this is to cross out the things that we've already multiplied or that we've already counted or kept track of. So same problem down here, different visual. 18 splits up into 2 times 3 times 3, and 30 splits up into 2 times 3 times 5. So basically for the least common multiple, we're just going to multiply everything together. But if we've already multiplied by something in the first number, we're not going to do it a second time, right? So we've already multiplied by a 2 right here, so we're not going to do it a second time right here. We've already multiplied by a 3 right here, so we're not going to do it on the right side. And so then again, we just cross these out and we see 2 times 3 times 3 times 5. Again, that's 90, and whatever is left over is in the least common multiple.